Hello, my students. This is our last video lecture. I'd like to start by saying you made it. It was a really weird year. I mean, this one goes down in the record books. I always thought we wouldn't get weirder than Hurricane Sandy when we just didn't have class for like 2 weeks. But no, we outdid ourselves. So the fact that you guys just got here and you're still engaged and you're still like participating and playing along, it's a big deal. It was easy to give up, right? It was harder to stay focused, so you did the harder task. I usually spend the last day of class doing two things. One, and today is the exit ticket that you get for that, I ask you for honest and anonymous feedback on the class. I have no way of knowing. I turn off all collection mechanisms on it, so I have no way of knowing who says what. It doesn't affect your grade in any way. But I legitimately read your feedback on the class, and I usually integrate it in some way into next year, or in the case of great books, the following year, hopefully. Ms. Nappy does the same thing with feedback. Like, we usually sit and have a discussion, and then I give you the anonymous sheets so that you can fully flesh out your thoughts. I do encourage you to do those and do those honestly. A couple of things to keep in mind. You can't suggest that we never give work again. And it is an English class. You do have to read. Like, you can't suggest that we don't. That's just not going to happen. However, if there were things that were helpful, and in your case, because you had a sub for part of the year, if there were things she did that you really liked, please let me know. That being said, let me get to my end of year remarks with you guys. I think this year gave us an odd opportunity. And I've said this to a few people, including when Mr. Teeple asked us to give him any sort of silver lining remarks on quarantine. I gave him this story as well. So if you hear it at graduation, he totally stole it from me. I had a friend who has 2 kids, and she started freaking out about e-learning and sending her kids back to school. And she was just like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, I'm not a teacher. And by the time these kids are back at school, my 3rd grader is going to be like a 4th or 5th grader, and they're not going to have 4th or 5th grade skills. And what am I going to do? And I looked at her and I was like, breathe. Everyone was in the same boat this year. This isn't a unique experience to us. Everyone went through this. You will be able to say to anyone you meet, like, do you remember that time we were all in global quarantine? I mean, all the countries, everyone, we were all there. All the schools shut down. So the next time you walk into a room, you may feel like you're walking in on a handicap, but everyone's walking in the same way. So just let go of it. And more importantly, when you are isolated, and we don't quite know how long this is going to last. If you ask me my personal opinion, I would say you guys are probably in for a little while longer of e-learning, because schools are germ factories on a good day. Like on a regular Friday in November, they're one of the germiest places in the entire world. Like we go through sicknesses anyway in schools, much less pandemics. But here's some silver lining for you. We get so caught up in formal schooling, and I like formal schooling. I'm a teacher who is the child of teachers. I love going to school. I got my master's degree because I enjoy going to school, not because I thought having a master's in English was going to somehow make me fabulously wealthy. It doesn't. I could have made a lot more money if I got like an administrative cert or a guidance cert, but I just love going to English class. I love it. I could do it all the time. I could do it every day. I really could. We get so caught up in formal education and checking the box, right? You guys have activities to go to and sports to go to, and you have a full schedule, and it's go, 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 go. You have work, you have things to go to, you have friends to meet up with, and right now you are pushed to be alone with yourself. If your life suddenly got so overwhelmingly boring and devoid of anything to truly do, you have to consider what you were really filling your time with before and whether or not it was meaningful. If you suddenly found yourself so devoid of meaning, maybe you needed meaning before. So I looked at my friend and I said, listen, the most important thing you can do for your kids, so kids, older kids, bigger kids, the most important thing you can do for yourselves. A, don't worry about school. Teachers have this. Teachers and professors, we know how to teach. This is our job. I'm used to kids coming in and having to look at them and see where they started at and what I have to do to get them where I need them to be. That's my job. I can do it. It's okay if you guys come in next year or wherever you go next year and you're a little behind. It's okay. That's our job. That's our superpower. Your job as the parent and your job as the older kids is to make sure that the rest of the kid is able to receive that when it's time. You guys need to find a positive way to be in quarantine. And I think the single greatest thing about it is that if you never gave yourself a pause to really find a worthwhile, constructive hobby that you really enjoy building and getting more involved with and like becoming a little mini expert on, this was your time. And you still have time. You still have it. You can still do it. Like, I really love writing. And in the kind of 5-minute increments I've had to myself in quarantine, because I have a newborn and a toddler, and I still live with my mom, and I'm fixing up a house, and now I'm e-learning again. I've dedicated myself back to writing. My husband likes to paint models. And when he started, he wasn't all that good, but he just kind of liked doing it. And he like sits and watches videos on people who do it. And he thinks about it, and you see him turning figures in the light, trying to figure out where the light would hit it so that he can shade better and highlight better. You can see that he's building a skill set. And if you look at his first models and his latest models, there's a huge difference in the level of skill that he shows. And what's he doing? He's sitting, watching videos on YouTube and focusing on a task, a small task, a hobby task. I just recently found all my old crocheting from college. And in that crocheting, I looked at like my really early stuff and I was like, ooh, it's not great. But if I just got a little time to work on this, it'd get better. A lot of you guys have focused on the school side of yourselves, right? You're doing homework, you're taking AP classes or honors classes, or you're taking sports or clubs. Your schedule is so full. When was the last time you said to yourself, you know, what's like something I always wanted to learn that I'm actually interested in, that can become self-motivated, something I like doing? Do you think that you could garden? And you've kind of always been curious about gardening. Go to Lowe's, get some seeds, get some seedlings, try it out. What is the worst thing that can happen? It doesn't work? Who cares? No one's watching. Have you ever thought to yourself, like, I think I could like learn to draw or learn to paint. Maybe you're not going to be great at it at first. No one is. But again, you have time. You have the ability, especially in the modern age with the internet. God, you can look at a million tutorials. Find the thing that makes you curious to watch the next video. Like, find the thing that makes you want to keep going. For some of you, it might be really outdoorsy and hands-on. Like, maybe you are discovering that you like to build, like actually build. My brother-in-law, having never really built anything a day in his life, having struggled with IKEA furniture, although who doesn't, went out and decided he really wanted to build garden boxes and built about 20 of them. And they're great. They are beautiful looking. They are, sealed up, watertight. His garden is flourishing. But if he didn't have the virus that made him pause and slow down and give him the opportunity to figure out how to do it, and then the time to like play around with it and learn, he would never have done this. Never. You need to ask yourself, what's something, even a small something, that you want to try? Do you want to try learning how to do makeup? Do you want to try learning how to sew? These are things that a school can't give you, but a school takes up so much of your time that it often takes that away from you. The real thing in life that any teacher would tell you is important is to find something that makes you want to go out and learn more of it on your own. The greatest silver lining of this is the amount of independence you have to reflect on yourself and what you want to learn, what you want to know, like what you want to be good at. Because right now, who cares if you're doing well in varsity sports your junior or senior year of high school, right? No one cares right now. And I'll tell you what, like by the time you're my age and you're looking back, you're like, it didn't matter that I was good at it. It didn't. I kind of wish now that instead of doing those sports, I did theater. Because at least the skills I had in theater, they would have been something I could have kept up with and kept doing. And in sports, it's not like anyone is like a part-time semi-pro like softball player. Like it doesn't matter. I wish that everyone would take an opportunity right now to really try and find that hobby of yours. Because the thing is, those people with hobbies were not losing their minds in quarantine. People who loved something in quarantine that they always wanted more time for were suddenly really thankful for the time they had. They're like, this is amazing. If I didn't have the time to do this, I would never have found it. Because we are so, as a culture, especially we're Northeast Americans, we're so work-oriented. We don't take sick days. We don't take vacation days. You know, we're usually scheduled to have in the average job like 2 weeks of vacation time a year, and most Americans don't take it. You know, other countries, it's like you have the entire month off. Please, you are required to go somewhere and not come to work for some of that time. We don't slow down. Once we amp up our speed and our work ethic, we pretty much stay at full steam ahead until we retire. And then we're bad at being retired. So many retired people have part-time jobs and everything. Like we do not know how to slow down and appreciate things. I mean, I understand that too. I don't like the sense of being bored. Like, and, you know, I'll be honest with you. There's no part of me that's a good stay-at-home mom. I love working. I love going back and seeing adults and managing something that's not 3 years old or 4 months old. Like, I would much prefer to manage 18-year-olds than the 3-year-old. She's incredibly difficult and tiring, and I don't know how people who do this every single solitary day don't lose their minds. But that's because that's their special thing. My special thing is hopefully doing this with you guys, giving you an opportunity to maybe think about what you could do. Another note I think is important to say to you during this time is we have no way of knowing when we're in something if it's actually happening for a good reason. So about a year ago, last May, my husband and I decided to sell our house. The house was getting small. We didn't get along with this one set of neighbors. We didn't want them to be permanent fixtures in our lives and raising our kids. We knew we wanted to have a second baby, but we were not yet having the second baby. So we went through the whole process and we put the house on the market. Like 2 weeks later, found out we were pregnant. And everyone said, it'll go fast, it'll go fast. The house will be out in a month. By the time we finally, in December, sold the house, we were exhausted. We'd had to put our dog to sleep. I was getting gigantically big and I couldn't nest for my baby. I couldn't like make him a room and make him a space because we didn't have a house. We moved back in with my mother, which is great. It's my dream to live with Iris forever. We couldn't make out whether everything that was happening just because the world is dark and chaotic and fate frowns upon us, or whether it was actually kind of working out. And a bunch of people kept telling us, don't worry, things have a way of working out. It all happens for a reason. And that feels like just comforting words in a time of great stress. However, Let me tell you what reflection and hindsight has showed me. I sold my house before a pandemic hit, and the pandemic has definitely put odd pause buttons on the house selling market. If my house hadn't sold by now, I'd have a lot of trouble selling it. I'd also be really stressed out looking for a house because I wouldn't want to go visit houses. We did all of our house visiting before all this nonsense happened, and we were done. There was a neighborhood that we desperately wanted to move into in Eatontown. We just kept driving through it and looking for houses for sale because it looked like a great place to raise kids. But frankly, we didn't know if we'd be able to afford Eatontown because it was a lot more expensive than Ocean County. And we wanted to be up here, closer to mom, closer to work, but didn't know if it would work out. Sold our house, found another house that was sitting on the market because it needed work done in the neighborhood that we love. We sold our house with enough money that we could make most of those changes, though it always gets more expensive and takes longer than you think because you always find other things. Termites. That was a great surprise. We had the baby while we were at my mom's house, which meant that I had my mom as built-in help with a newborn and a toddler, which was great because it's so hard to have a newborn and a toddler. Like, you need help adjusting to that. On top of that, the pandemic hit. When the pandemic hit, I was really, really thankful that my mother, who is older, was not alone. So what you also have to realize about my mother is that she lives alone, so she does a lot of things to entertain herself. Like, she'll go to the mall and just wander to 9 different stores for like 17 hours, pointlessly, just to kind of get out of the house. So like, if my mother was alone and unmonitored during all of this nonsense, my mother definitely would have gotten sick because like you couldn't even keep her out of workout world. You couldn't convince her to maintain social distance just because she was bored. And having us home and being like, I need you home to help and to be safe with me and the kids. Like, I need you to do that. Was probably the only way she was ever going to do it. And if we didn't live here, she would have been alone and just doing all these crazy behaviors on her own. So even though I would tell you that there was no part of my adult life that wanted to live with my mother from December, January, February, March, April, I'm on month 7. Month 7. I don't want to be here. But it worked out, especially like I would have told you 6 months would have been the drop dead, I can't do it anymore time with my mom. And then in that last month, I had the gallbladder attacks that led to me having the gallbladder surgery, which, by the way, on your exit tickets, a lot of you did not pay attention to the fact that I like clearly specified that I looked like a hot wreck in the early videos because I was like literally a day and a half out of the hospital when I started doing your e-learning. But like, I had the surgery, and after the surgery, I'm still not allowed to pick up the baby because he weighs too much. He's too big. He's at least 15 pounds. He might even be 16 pounds. But the thing about being here is if I wasn't, the stress on my husband and my family and myself would have been so much greater. So it's odd. I'm really kind of happy and grateful that we were here, even though it's also torturous. Upon reflection, it's the best thing I can do. And every time that we go see our house, even though our 3-week renovation is now in week, like, I don't even know, 2,982, conservative estimate, like our 3-week renovation project due to the virus and just finding other things wrong with the house that had to be fixed. We're now on like the 2nd month of renovations, and we just are still homeless. But I go to that house and I see what it's going to look like when my daughter walks down those stairs to go to her prom. I see my son's nursery, and I know like this is where our family's going to have Christmas, and this is where we're going to have Halloween, and this is where we're going to have birthday parties, and this is the backyard that they're going to grow up in. And no matter how stressful it is, if all the other things hadn't happened, this wouldn't happen. And I know that that's where my family's going to live. I know that's where they're going to grow up. So, silver linings, reflection. Try not to figure out how meaningful something is in the precise moment you're in it, because sometimes it's going to take a little reflection. And that's okay. It's okay for that to be how it works. And it is working out. I don't know how yet, because sometimes it takes 7 months later to realize that's how it's working out, but it's working out. Also, some of you are home in incredibly loving and supporting environments. Some of you aren't. And you don't always know amongst yourselves which one is which. And frankly, I don't even know all the time which one is which. But I know that it never ever hurts for me to say this to you. If you ever need me, I am here. And you know to get in touch with me. And I would always be happy to listen to you, to talk to you, or to help you in any way that I could. And I want all of you to go forward, either to senior year or to college, knowing that you have somebody you can talk to. And that I'm very proud of you guys. You know, my juniors, you guys rocked having your stressful research paper at the beginning of the year. And, you know, a lot of you guys said you were so scared and so nervous for it, and yet you were rock stars. You know, here at the end of the year, the confidence that a lot of you are approaching your creative writing is just heartwarming to me. Like, I'm almost like, wow, they're really confident. They really built up. They really feel good. Because I keep asking and asking and asking, do you feel good? And you guys are like, yeah, no, I feel great. I know exactly what you mean. Yes. And my seniors, I am heartbroken for you that you didn't get your normal experience. No one did, though, so probably your college will eventually, when all of this settles, throw like a delayed COVID prom for sophomores that you guys can all go to. But you guys showed a lot of character. You showed a lot of heart in the beginning of the year. Like you threw yourselves into your senior year knowing that some of you half checked out by October, and you kept working at it. And you're still here. You're still here the last week of classes, most of you, checking in, you know, showing up, doing the right thing, even though it's probably extra hard for you to do that because you are sad that you missed your senior trip. You are sad that you missed your senior breakfast and all of your fun little things and your rude awakenings and your proms, and you're missing your graduation. Even if they come to some agreement and do a July ceremony, it's not going to be the same as doing it at the end of June and then just being free, like free, wild, and crazy for the last couple months before you all go away to college. I know that it's extra hard on you because you feel like it's unfair that like the people before you got it and now you don't. If it makes you feel better, the kids after you, I don't know if they're going to get it either. But as Terry Pratchett once said, there is an intense curse that we lay upon people, which is, I hope you live in interesting times. Living in interesting times often is hard. You guys are living in spectacularly interesting times. At least you have that. You know, you have that you lived through this and that it is a moment in history that you are observing. You can one day tell people, as you reflect on it, what good and bad came out of it. And just remember that it isn't personal to you. Like, the world is not doing this to upset you or the balance of your life. You know, and you do have the ability to keep yourself even keel and moving forward. And if you doubt that, you can come talk to me, because I will remind you of your own kind of awesome power to keep yourselves moving forward. I really wish that I could write in every single yearbook. Allegedly, there's something that they're coming up with for that. But I will also tell you that, you know, if we have open school next year, I will be happy to have any of you guys back on your breaks and add to your yearbooks. I usually offer the choice between a sincere wish or a fun fact, but this video is just my sincere wishes for all of you. I am going to profoundly miss you. I am very sad that I don't get to give you your last firm high five as you go out of my room, your power high five, and for some of you, a power high five that turns into a hug. There's many of you that hold a special place in my heart as just kids that I've watched grow up now for a couple of years, and I really am sad that I'm not going to get to see you off on the next branch of your journey. But I still want you to know you have all of the Donoghue love. Have a good summer, guys. Don't be strangers. Come back, visit, email. I'm here. For the last time, Donoghue out.